Hello everyone, welcome to Sunday School. This is the lesson for Sunday, March the 13th, and we are continuing in our devotional book, Listen to Him. And so we hope you are enjoying this journey, daily journey through Scripture. So Brandon, it's good to see you.
Well, it's good to see you too, Laurel.
So have you gotten any feedback about our lesson?
Oh, here and there, yes.
Yeah. So here's what I heard last week.
No.
I heard we look like we're in jail.
Well, I feel that way sometimes.
So I'm glad you wore stripes.
I know, just in case. I did it. I didn't even mean to. I didn't.
We hope you can look past the exterior and let's talk about the content today. I'm excited about this lesson.
They might wonder where the jail is at the church. So don't want to get anyway.
No. We need to go on to the lesson.
Okay.
Yes. I am excited about this content because this passage that we begin with is probably one of the most familiar passages in Scripture and one of my favorite Bible stories.
Really, it is.
So just to set it all up, we are listening to Jesus. We are traveling with Jesus to the cross, through the cross to the resurrection, and we are paying special attention to the things that Jesus says in these encounters. And so this is the familiar story of the what we call the Good Samaritan.
Right, and that comes from Luke chapter 10, verses 25 through 37. It says, "On one occasion, an expert in the law stood up to test Jesus. 'Teacher,' he asked, 'what must I do to inherit eternal life?' 'What is written in the law?' he replied. 'How do you read it?' He answered, 'Love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your strength, and with all your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself.' 'You have answered correctly,' Jesus replied. 'Do this, and you will live.' But he wanted to justify himself, so he asked Jesus, 'And who is my neighbor?' In reply, Jesus said, 'A man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho when he was attacked by robbers. They stripped him of his clothes, beat him, and went away, leaving him half dead. A priest happened to be going down the same road, and when he saw the man, he passed by on the other side. So too a Levite, when he came to the place and saw him, passed by on the other side. But a Samaritan, as he traveled, came where the man was, and when he saw him, he took pity on him. He went to him and bandaged his wounds, pouring on oil and wine. Then he put the man on his own donkey, brought him to an inn, and took care of him. The next day he took out 2 denarii and gave them to the innkeeper. 'Look after him,' he said, 'and when I return, I will reimburse you for any extra expense you may have.' Which of these 3 do you think was a neighbor to the man who fell into the hands of robbers?" The expert in the law replied, "The one who had mercy on him." Jesus told him, "Go and do likewise."
So what a beautiful story that Jesus offers an answer to this question. And essentially with this story, Jesus flips the script. The man has come, and perhaps his original question was of good intent, but in the moment he comes back and says, "Well, who is my neighbor?"
Right.
He is attempting to entrap Jesus in some kind of questioning, right?
That's true. I think he is, but I also think he's trying to make himself look good.
Make himself feel better.
Make himself feel better because, if you can say that, well, I'm not as bad as that guy or that woman over there,
right.
You can feel better about yourself, but how does that really help you?
Right. And so Jesus ends up telling this story, and the answer to the man's question actually becomes the story, which is actually another question. It's not, the question that needs answering is not who is my neighbor, but rather what kind of neighbor am I?
Right. That's true.
If you just stop and think about that, how Jesus has shifted the focus in the conversation with this story, it's pretty profound.
It is. Jesus always has some way of dealing with the law in such a revolutionary way. Whenever this man, the man says what those two great commandments are, to love the Lord your God, and of course coming from Deuteronomy 6, but then also to love your neighbor as yourself, coming from Leviticus chapter 19. And in that, when it talks about a neighbor, it's really talking about a neighbor Israelite.
Yes.
It is. But Jesus has a way, in Matthew, he talks about, he does this. He says, you have heard it said.
But I say to you.
But I say to you, with that authority that only Jesus had. And so here he is reinterpreting the law. And what he's saying is, it's not enough just to love the person
that's like
you. You have to love the one that you kind of hate.
Well, but Brandon, it's even, to me, it's even more profound than that. So here's the way I think about it. You put a row of people out in front of you, and you can look at these people and you can say, okay, this person's easy to love, this person's challenging to love. And so you sort of have this idea that these people I naturally gravitate toward. These people over here I would prefer not to be close to if possible. But what Jesus is talking about is it's not about them at all. It's not about the people that you would say is neighbors. It's about you and what kind of neighbor are you. And because we have Sunday evening with the neighbors here, of course, I filter this story through our own ministry here at church. And it's, when I think about it when I think about this parable in light of the ministry that we're doing, or perhaps flip that and say that ministry in light of this parable, what I recognize, it's not really about the people we serve, it's about what kind of people are we that would be called to be able to respond to the needs of other people, right? It's not an evaluation of the neighbors.
No, right.
It's an evaluation of me as someone who has the opportunity to meet these needs.
It makes me think about something too, that, oftentimes the ones that we have the most trouble with are the ones that's where Jesus is.
Yes.
Okay. Because it's like, the first time that I think like this man who's asking this question, who is my neighbor, trying to justify himself, he's saying, well, I want to be good, I want to do the right thing, but I really just want you to tell me that I'm doing okay.
Yes.
Okay, don't you think that?
Yes.
That I'm okay as I am. But what happens is that Jesus has a way of moving that to the point that, well, yeah, you're okay, but I'm over here with the lost, with the lonely, with the people the least of these.
Well, the thing about this story that captures, I guess, my imagination and my heart is the progression of the care that the Good Samaritan offers. And so at first he goes to the man. So think about that. He sees the need and he moves towards the need, which that in itself is beautiful because everybody else just kept right on going. So he sees the need and he moves toward the need. I think that's where we frequently stop in our understanding of the story. We think that my job is to move towards the need and to be present, and that is the initiation, that is the beginning, and it's beautiful, and nothing happens without that.
No,
but in this parable, it's just the beginning, because once he moves towards the need, then he bandages the person, so he meets the physical need that this individual has. But then, see, that's where I think I would say, okay, I'm done.
I've done what I can do.
I've done what I can do. That Band-Aid I had in my pocket, I pulled out and I put it on you, and now I'm off. Because anything else is going to require something pretty remarkable from me.
Right, it's a major commitment, aren't you?
Yes,
You're looking at something very...
yes, because now the next step is he picks the guy up and puts him on his donkey.
Right, now this is where I want to stop. because it's like, I've got to be able to get on with my business.
That's right. I need that donkey.
I need it.
And you're going to slow me down, wounded person. You're going to make my life much more complicated. I am going to have to. Something's going to be required of me. And here's, for me, Brandon, this is where the problem is. I don't know what it's going to be.
Right. You have no idea.
When I'm bandaging the person on the side of the road, whatever that initial meeting of the need is, I know precisely what I'm about to do. I'm about to offer you food. I'm about to offer you some kind of physical, meeting some kind of physical need.
Right.
But when I put you on the donkey and take you off with me, then I'm taking you with me.
I know, it's like, it's like I'm taking ownership of this situation. It's like I'm obligated now to make sure that you're okay.
You are now my problem.
Oh, goodness.
And I think we all have this sense of not wanting to get that involved in the needs and ministry in other people's lives. So the man, the Good Samaritan, not only puts him on his donkey, he takes him to the inn, so he finds him a place to be. He arranges for him, so he stays with him overnight. He takes care of him overnight, so there's this personal investment there, which means that he did not get home when he planned to get home.
Oh, definitely not.
And he probably had to call his wife. I'm sure he had to call his wife.
Yeah, I'm sure he did.
He had a lot of text messages going back and forth.
Really.
So then he puts his own personal resources.
Right.
So he pays the innkeeper. So out of his own pocket, he makes sure that the man's going to be taken care of and be okay. And then the last one is the one that blows my mind. He's going to come back.
Right. How amazing is that he is going to take such a, not only has he given of his resources, his money, and I mean, think about it too, that probably that oil and wine that he was using, maybe he was selling that.
Yes, that was personal resource too.
It's personal resources too. So not only that, but then he's going to come back. It's like, I am invested in you enough that I care enough to make sure that you're okay, that you have what you need.
So I wonder if Jesus is asking us the question, will we be the kind of people who are willing to come back? Will we be the kind of people who are willing not only to meet someone in that moment of need, but establish some kind of ongoing relationship and continue the ministry in their lives? And it's tempting to, it's an easy application to see this in light of Sunday evening with the neighbors.
Sure.
Because in this ministry that this church so beautifully supports, we do come back. Week after week after week. No week is uncovered in terms of offering food. And so that is a beautiful comparison, I guess, or application. But it's so much bigger than that, isn't it? You mentioned discipleship. Talk about that a second.
Right. It's like, building that relationship. It's almost as if when we get to, what he does, what the Samaritan does to him on the side of the road, how he helps him, is almost like us bringing one to salvation, where we're understanding, where we have an encounter with the Lord. But discipleship means I have to care enough to continue that relationship. And it's interesting to me that I try to view all the things that Jesus says and does with his disciples through the lens of what it meant to be a disciple. And what that meant, is only to be with Jesus. It wasn't like they had to have some kind of special skill, because, dear God, most of them didn't have any special skill. They didn't. It wasn't like they were theologians or whatever. Fishermen didn't quite, were not, in the top list of people you wanted to have a conversation with either. So, I mean, but what he's saying is, I want you to be with me. I want you to be in my presence. And what that's going to do is that's going to change everything about you.
Yes, because you are with me, then you are going to have something now to offer others.
Right.
And you are going to become the kind of person that is the good neighbor. It's not about trying to figure out who qualifies for your help. It's about becoming the person, because you've been with Jesus, that sees all people as people that God would have me care about, love, extend compassion and grace to.
That's right, because you don't ever get to a point where you ask that question,
no.
who deserves this, because I, for one, don't.
Right, and this is really a beautiful picture of what Jesus does for us, right?
Sure,
that Jesus comes
absolutely.
to us in our weakness, in our need. He meets us where we are, but he doesn't leave us there. He doesn't leave us with a Band-Aid on the side of
Right.
the road, but he takes us with him.
He loves us enough to not leave us where we are.
Yes. Oh, I love this story, and
No, very
we
much.
hope that you find a lot there to think about and to talk about. So let's move on to the second story we want to talk
Oh, yeah,
about
sure.
today. And this is the familiar passage to many of us, the story of where Jesus goes in to Bethany and actually ends up in the house of the sisters, Mary and Martha. And of course, these are the siblings of Lazarus.
That's right.
And this household becomes a home base, or has been a home base for Jesus. So he has used this as a place to, I guess, rejuvenate from time to time.
Yeah, and it seems like from other stories too that they're friends,
Yes.
they're close friends. And so, it's Jesus had friends.
Yes, yes.
He
These are the
did.
people that he feels good around.
You want those people that can pour into you,
Yes.
that are willing to do that. And they definitely seem to be. I kind of always love this story a little bit because it explains a whole lot, about our personalities, because we're usually either a Mary or a Martha.
Yes. And maybe another way to say that is we're either very task oriented,
Right.
or perhaps we are more relationship oriented would be another way to think about that. But the J.D. Walt points out in this that the deeper message here, it's not about is Mary right or is Martha right.
No, right.
Well, let's back up a minute. Brandon, read what Jesus says. So what we have, let's set the scene. We have Jesus is teaching, and the disciples, they are in Mary and Martha's home.
Right.
And Mary is sitting at Jesus' feet, which is the place of the student, the place of the disciple. But it's not a place where women would typically find themselves.
Not normally, of course, Martha is doing what women would typically do
She's
in this
cooking.
time. She's cooking, and she's
And she's banging pots and pans while she
Right.
does it because she's frustrated.
And wiping her brow.
Yes,
and
yes. She's
sighing really loudly.
Yeah, she is unhappy that Mary is with Jesus and not assisting her with the dinner preparations. Now, Martha can get a bad rap here because somebody needs to cook dinner.
Absolutely.
So it's not about that Martha is doing something that is wrong or
No,
even
not at all.
inferior. So Martha complains to Jesus.
Right, and she came to him and asked, "Lord, don't you care that my sister has left me to do the work by myself? Tell her to help me."
Don't you hear the violins playing
I
in the
know
background?
it is. Oh, I can. And and Jesus says that, those two words, Martha, Martha, you are worried and upset about many things, but few things are needed, or indeed only one. Mary has chosen what is better, and it will not be taken away from her.
Martha has been busy making preparations. Now she complains, and what we notice, and Walt points this out, is the use of the personal pronoun.
Right, the me, myself, and I. And
Yes. So evidently, Martha is not as focused on the hospitality that she is offering Jesus and these others who have gathered with him, but she is more focused on herself.
Right.
Maybe she's worried about how she looks. Maybe she's worried about how this dinner is going to reflect on her as
Right.
a homeowner and a hostess.
Right.
But maybe even more likely to me is she's worried about her sisters not
Right.
having to contribute, and this
Right.
is hard work. This is
Right.
not opening a can. This is starting from scratch on
No,
everything. This is a
every
big old
single
deal,
thing.
right?
No, it is. It's
And so she's
ordeal.
concerned about herself in this moment. And Jesus, once again, seems to flip the script here and change the conversation. And it seems as though what he is talking about is, what is she focused on?
Right. It's easier to focus on what other people are doing.
Or not doing.
Or not doing. That's exactly right. It's so much easier because what it does is it kind of takes you off the hook.
Yes. So she's focused on what Mary is not doing and doesn't recognize that perhaps she's got too much of her identity tied up in this experience. Perhaps she's this level of frustration that she is feeling, or the the anger that maybe is there underneath all of this, that she needs to look at that and examine that, and why is she feeling this way?
Right. Yeah, we don't know if Mary has always been like this. And
We don't know if Mary's never helped before, or we don't know
right.
any of that. But
No.
it seems that Jesus is wanting her to do a little bit of reflection, because he's
Sure.
pointing out that Mary is the one who is paying attention to him.
Right.
Mary is the one who is listening to Jesus. And you said something, Brandon, when we started talking about this today, that was so good. Go back to the Transfiguration.
Oh yeah, because when we go back to the very first lesson in the book, during that time of Jesus's transfiguration, of course the cloud comes over them and the voice of God says, "This is my beloved Son in whom I'm well pleased. Listen to him." And so what we see again is that Mary is doing the thing that God commanded.
Yes.
She's doing the thing that God wanted for the people to do, to listen to him.
Mary is doing the thing that makes you a disciple.
Right. Right.
She is with Jesus, and her attention is turned to him, and she's listening to him. And so Jesus is not, I don't know that Jesus is really trying to, it's not so much chastising Martha. It doesn't
I don't
feel
think
that
so.
way at all.
I don't think so.
It's more of an invitation.
It is, because he doesn't say, you've chosen the wrong thing and Mary's chosen the right thing. What does he say? Mary has chosen the better
thing.
The better thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to take it from her.
Right. And it may be that if Martha reflects on this, that she can find out that she can listen to Jesus as she prepares the meal.
Seriously though.
That there's ways, it's not just a single way to be in Jesus' presence.
That's
And
right.
Certainly for us today,
That's absolutely right.
That there are times that you listen to Jesus when you're working, or when you are about doing normal life things.
Mm-hmm.
But there are also times when you stop what you're doing and you open your
That's right.
Bible and you come and you sit at his feet. And this journey that we're taking through Lent is a beautiful time for that to happen. So we encourage
is.
you guys to continue this. We hope you are involved with this, and if you haven't and you want to catch up, just jump right in. They're short, brief, but they're
good.
They're so
good.
profound,
They
and
really are.
these little devotions have questions, and they're going to leave you thinking. And that's what we hope, is that you will listen to see what Jesus is saying to you. So we look forward to seeing you again soon. Have a great week.
See you then.
Bye.